This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday, and I didn't go postal. And you know, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Shout out to the bad guy, Razor Ramon. This is definitely one of the sweetest fucking shirts they had on the wall at WrestleMania. So I may or may not have spent more money than I intended to. But hey, I guess that's what happened when you go on vacation. And like you said, hey, Chico, we got a lot of shit to talk about today. So I figured, you know, before we hit last call, I figured we'd bring our buddy Chris Connor from last call back to shoot the shit about some wrestling and combat sports. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing. We have a lot to talk about. From we have Bellator, we got Slammiversary, you have Vince McMahon, you got Andy Cruz. This is like everybody else in sports are going like, oh, it's the dull days of the summer. Nope, for us, it's just heating up.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You ain't lying, dude.
Well, J-Bone, how you feeling about this past weekend, bro?
Hey, man, like he said, a lot of people was dumbing it down in the world of MMA and professional wrestling. Man, I thought there was a lot to watch, and my eyes were on everything from UFC to Slammiversary, man. You name it, dude. We're just heating up. SmackDown was legit. Monday Night Raw was good. Shit, if you ask me, prime time to watch stuff like that. But like you said, a lot of stuff to talk about, man. A lot of things going down. So
I almost forgot. We also saw a dominant performance from probably, dare I say, the best light heavyweight, cruiserweight, maybe even heavyweight of our generation, Artur Beterbiev.
I watched that fight.
I mean, so that's how stacked this weekend was for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one definitely fell underneath the radar for a lot of people. I mean, it didn't even honestly seem like ESPN usually does a pretty decent job when they have follow-up cards following the ESPN UFC events that they'll, kind of push the combat sports fans to their boxing events, and I didn't even really see that much of a push on it from that end either.
All right. My bad. I was just getting some stuff up in the background, but yeah, man, that was a tough fight to watch, dude. Because here's the thing: when you watch that fight, you got to realize, dude is from New York. He's got all his friends and family are all in there, man. And man, Beterbiev fucking gave him the work. Like it was like in a hurry too. Like it wasn't like let's feel him out or nothing. Like, dude, once he hit him with that first good shot, it was like goodbye to your legs, dog, because he was giving him the work. Like his legs were immediately hurt. He's immediately on wobbly legs, and just this man never got a chance to tough some bitch though. Tough some bitch, because he got up 2 or 3 times before they finally stopped it. But I mean, man. Beterbiev was definitely the better man that night. So definitely shout out to him on that fight. But all right. Do we want to go in chronological order, or do you guys want to start wrestling first and MMA second? How do we want to do this? If you guys who are watching, what do you guys want to hear us talk about first?
Even me as an MMA fan and loving
yes,
this
sir.
card,
what up, Kathy?
Arguably being the best fight night that we've seen in such a long time. I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't start with the whole Vince thing. That's the main.
Yeah, we got to talk about Vince first, because this is the game changer right now. But we're all looking at going, okay, could this be the end? Could it all take down Vince McMahon is just a scorned woman in an NDA?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so.
In the times of cancel culture, that's what it reminds me of so much. Is I mean, I don't know the full details on whether the alleged allegations or all of that, but
so that's the whole thing with this, right? Not that it's not serious, but like, oh man, and I don't want this to sound like I'm sticking up for anybody or anything like that. But here's the thing, right? Like, that is literally all we've got so far. are allegations. There's
Mm-hmm.
not been one damn thing that I've seen put out by any news source with any kind of credibility that says, okay, he did this, or this, and this is what proves it. They've said there's things that they're accusing him of. Like we said, we heard, the $3 million that was supposedly moved and how her salary went up after the affair started. Let's talk about something that a lot of people aren't talking about here, and that's that even though we all know Linda McMahon still goes by Linda McMahon, I've heard that Vince and Linda have been basically separated for a long time. They have the same name because it's in the better interest of the company. But that even furthermore makes this like somebody just trying to take somebody down, because if that's the case and they're separated, then is it really an affair?
Right. Yeah.
If
There's
it was
so many
consensual,
allegations, man.
if
It's
it
all
was
allegations.
consensual,
Yeah. I mean, consent is a thing, but it's all going to come down to like who's going to say what, right? Because the woman clearly she can't say anything. She can't come forward. She can't say nothing because of the NDA, right? So all you have is hearsay, pretty much. Whoever's reporting this stuff, whatever. Bottom line is, was it illegal? Maybe not. Morally wrong? Absolutely. But illegal? We're yet to find out anything illegal yet. But what do you do? I mean, look what Vince is doing. Pretty much Vince is coming out there and showing his ass like, I ain't scared of you guys. You know what I mean?
I just
coming
find
out
it
there
so
with like the flat stuff at the beginning of the show. Like, you're not even saying nothing. Welcome to SmackDown. Hey, John Cena's coming back. That's him saying, screw you guys. I ain't hiding from you.
I understand it's backlash behind the scenes, and it kind of being in the corporate sphere of the WWE kind of probably makes it that much worse, actually. But to Kyle's point, if they really were split up and stuff like that, in this modern era where somebody can get called out for, basically just being in a relationship with somebody, I don't. To the point where he has to step aside from a multi-billionaire dollar company.
And that's the other thing. Let's not get. Go ahead, Chris.
Because you're missing sort of the point. You're talking about as if we're all fans, and that's great and all that. Imagine being a shareholder right now. You're a shareholder. You've seen your stock, drop a bit, and you're getting reports of, oh, by the way, this has been a pattern where Vince has had to use NDAs because he's hired people who were not fit for the job, who have been paid more than what they should, and then end up getting a very big severance package. You want to know first, hey, did I get my money stolen? Were my shares, devalued? What the hell is going on? And if you think this is just, just a witch hunt, Les Movitz is, to me, the one that this comes back to, because he was, for those who don't know, he was the former chairman and CEO of CBS. I mean, for years, he ran CBS. He turned them into a multi-million-dollar, investment. And it was allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, abuse of power. He ends up getting kicked out. Now, I'll give Vince credit. He's very smart. He's used the NDAs, but you have a lot of the shareholders, the members of the board who are looking at this and they're going, wait a minute here. How much did Vince ruin the stock? How much has Vince been pulling this stuff? And has he even dipped into corporate funds? Have we lost money because of this? This is scary for Vince. I know he thinks he can just slap this around, but when people, have money at stake, basically the knives are sharpened and the hounds are released. And I think he doesn't really understand this could be something that just he can't get ahead of.
See, call me naive, but I was unaware that WWE was even a publicly traded company.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I did not know that.
That happened when we were kids, Corey. Hot damn it.
Okay, you think I was paying attention
I
to
guess
the news back then?
Is that what it's going to come down to, you guys think? Is it going to come down to like where the money's coming from? Like, is it coming out of Vince's personal checkbook? Is it coming out of the corporate funds? Who's paying for it?
I mean, whenever it's a money thing, and that's why I brought that up. You can go back to our past show that we had last week when we were hyping up Lights Out. I had brought up that same question when talking about XFC, is because when they were a publicly traded company, anytime that anything happens on the stock market, and to your point, these stockholders are losing any type of money when they feel as though they're being shortchanged. That's a huge thing, man.
You're right on, Donald. I mean, that's where I'm at. I think Donald might have hit the nail on the head to what's really going to cause the issue in this. It's going to come down to where they determine that money came from, or at least where they believe that money came from. Because if they can't prove that it was taken directly out of company money, or they can't trace it directly back to that, which I've heard nothing yet that says that it is that, even though it's been suggested that, and they said that with the $3 million and all that. Like I said, the way my usual view with this stuff is, until everything's out in the open, I'm not gonna take it for what it is. That being said, if it comes back that Vince did that out of his own money, then again, nobody can say shit there either.
Right. Hey, billionaires spend money on billionaire things. We don't know what people spend money on.
Hey, man, and that's what I'm
Nor
saying.
is it our business. If it's not,
that's
if
my
it's
whole thing. Like, I don't
me
see
say
how
that.
this has anything business to do with what was going on with. I mean, I don't know. This just kind of feels like somebody who is sour grapes. And from what I've heard, from every report I've read, it wasn't even the girl that was involved with it was the one that put it out there. It was a friend of hers that put it out. And so I don't know, man. It, like I said, until they give like some concrete evidence, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with it. Now, do I think that it can be very damaging to the company? Do I think if this does turn into, a whatever the hell, then that's different. But until we see it go there, I think Vince coming out on SmackDown and Raw and all that is essentially like, it's almost like a fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I get it. Vince is the white man's version of Don King. He's beaten the government. He's beaten the regulations.
That's the first time I've ever heard that one.
And that's true. That's true.
But he is. I mean, think of it. Those two have always just, that we are untouchable. We are gods. You cannot, get a hold of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I get why he's doing this, and he's arrogant. But I don't think he gets is just, this isn't going to be the first one. There's going to be more. And to me, this is almost like the Deshaun Watson, where it was like, okay, 1 or 2, that's fine. Then it went to 7, then 9, then 15, then 20. Now we're at 24. Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah. We got a problem.
That's when it's going to become very damaging right there.
It's if these board members feel that they can throw Vince out because of the morals, you could see Vince lose the company. They could probably push him out going, hey, the morals clause says that you were, I'm looking here, it's Article E, willful, intentional, material breach of this agreement, including restrictive covenants set forth, good faith judgment of a board, the act of omission that would otherwise constitute cause here under is reasonable, should settle the cure. The executive should have 30 days from his receipt, and they can then, in good faith of a board, basically throw him out.
It's crazy, man. And then, here's the outside part of it that a lot of people aren't realizing. Imagine what do you got to be thinking if you're Stephanie in this, right? She literally just said a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that she was stepping away from the WWE to devote more time to her family. And now, not only do you got to come back, hey, you got to come back, and you're about to be the CEO, and you're about to be the chairman while I'm out on this shit. It's like, well, guess you ain't stepping away from shit. Because that's gotta, don't get me wrong. I think eventually, whenever Vince does pass, I think most people would say they would have expected it to been Stephanie to take it over at this point anyway. But I'm just saying that's gotta be. What do you guys think about this from the guys of Stephanie? How do you guys feel about Stephanie having to come in and basically
wasn't her whole thing on why she wanted to step away because she wanted to focus on her family and her children and stuff like that? And so I guess really it kind of shows that the real baby of that family is the business, and if the business starts crying, you got to take care of that baby.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much. It's gonna be interesting though, just to see what happens. I mean, it's got everybody's eyes on it, considering what happened. But I'm just wondering if Vince is gonna still make an appearance. Like, is he gonna keep doing the whole like?
I mean, until he says anything on TV. I mean, think about it this way: even if it was people just coming to boo at him, which it doesn't look to be what's happened, because I mean, every time he's come out, the crowd is still. I mean, there's been some boos you can hear, but by and large, they've still been loud. So I mean, until he straight up says something in the ring, I think every time he comes to the rings, all it's going to do is it. I bet you, if you look at the ratings for Raw, I'll bet you money they were good, knowing that he was supposed to kick off Raw.
Yeah.
Now, what were you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, let's call a spade here, bro. Stephanie has no power. She's basically a figurehead there. Vince is still running this. He just can't
be,
a mob boss. Yeah, basically, it's but you can't be, in charge. But you want to be in charge. You put somebody in there because it's still Vince, doing creative. It's Bruce Pritchard who's second in command. The usual players are still there. It's not like Stephanie has power to fire everybody. She doesn't. So I kind of feel bad for her. She's basically, the CEO to the outside board who the outside, people, the business people, they don't want her. They want Vince. Vince makes money. And to them, he's still, the billionaire genius. And we saw when she was named CEO, stock dropped. People were worried. So, as I said, there's no happy ending I see for any of us here.
Do you guys think this does anything for the fan base though? Does like the avid WWE fan, do they lose interest here, or do they like?
I hate to say it this way. I hate to say it this way, bro, but with all things considered, I've heard this a lot when I've heard and listened to people talk about this whole situation. Like, shit like this happens in big corporations all the time. I think the only reason why this is getting blown out of proportion right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not condoning or saying any of that shit should have happened, wasn't wrong, none of that. All I'm saying is that this very same thing happens in Fortune 500 companies and all that stuff every day, where somebody gets busted out for doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and then, they got to step down or whatever it is. And let's also not neglect that fact. He didn't say he was stepping down. He said stepping back. So if you think that especially if he's going to still be at these shows, which clearly he was at Raw and SmackDown, if you really think that he's not still pulling the reins of that ship from the sidelines, you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
agreed.
That's just my thoughts on that one. We also, before we get on to UFC, is this the break the glass shit handle by having to bring Brock back this quick to fight Roman again?
I don't know what their thought process was with that. Especially the way everything did kind of. I don't know. Were they wanting more out of the payout of it all, or something like that? Is that why they're immediately diving right back into this pool? Or
I just think that injury to Cody did a lot of damage to what they wanted to do. I think they had every intention of maybe Cody winning Money in the Bank, and maybe he'd be the one to take the belt off of Roman at some point. But for him to go down and be down that long, I think they had to do a quick pivot to figure out what they were going to do. And here's another thing, which we've been talking about for weeks. This explains the point that I've been trying to make for weeks, in that this is why, since they don't have anybody that's built up to at least a close level to Roman, or a credible threat on either brand, really. Now, the match with Riddle was really good, although I don't think any of us really thought he was going to take the belt off him right there. But the point is, there's not too many people that they have on the roster right now that are built up enough that they could take the belt off of Roman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. So when you don't have anybody else that's believable, all that's going to happen, he's already beaten most of the people on the current rosters as they are. So I mean, the only thing you really got left now is, I mean, everybody and their mom knows that Brock Lesnar will always be, will always be a draw, and he'll always be a killer there. Like there's no, I mean, he can be beat, but everybody always knows at any given time he can come in there and beat Roman and them. So I think that's why a guy like Brock, is the oh shit handle for them. But I think it's just a case of Cody went down, and I think that proves how much stock they had in Cody. I mean, you guys can feel free to drop in if you guys are in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. But I think this further proves just how much they had into Cody, because, I mean, it almost seems like, oh shit, now that Cody's gone, we don't have anybody else credible or there to fight Roman. So what are you going to do? What you maybe would have taken another year to do and bring Brock back to come fight him. It's like, well, shit.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like you said, the herd's thin when it comes, especially when it comes. I mean, look at, so Cody's down. Who else is really there? Credibility. What? Randy's down.
Randy's down and could be done for good.
Could be done for a very long time. So the next man up, they got to step up, and they really don't have anybody besides who? Seth Rollins, Riddle, Bobby Lashley, maybe. I mean, Drew.
Well,
McIntyre.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that's why the Judgment Day, that's what they did with the Judgment Day.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
I do. I really do. I believe they broke up the Judgment Day so that they could have Edge back as a baby face.
Yeah, I think everything's just kind of up in the air for them, considering all the things that are going down. So, yeah, why not go back to? I mean, for me as a fan, I'd rather not see it. Yeah, it's a little quick if you ask me, but as somebody who's on the show, writing the show, yeah, break the glass. We need Brock Lesnar now. You know what I mean? SummerSlam's a big deal, a very big deal. You have to have,
dude. It's already almost overshadowing Money in the Bank, and we haven't even gotten to Money in the Bank yet.
Exactly. So. It is what it is, man. Got to make it happen somehow.
Chris, what do you think about them having to get Brock Lesnar? Is it the oh shit handle?
It shows there's a huge star drop with him. Not just even a star, young talent when you look at it. I mean, you mentioned Brock, and he's up there now in his mid-40s. Bobby Lashley, same thing. AJ Styles, Edge is closer to 50. And you're doing all these pay-per-views. You haven't really built anybody. It's 50-50 booking, which we all know it goes so well in WWE, but they still do it. Add to that, there's no Charlotte Flair. Sasha Banks looks like she's out.
Naomi's gone too.
They need ratings because people forget in 2 years their deal is up in Fox. They have. I doubt Fox has been happy with the whole WWE thing. And getting 2 million, no Roman Reigns. He's now on basically a limited schedule. Brock Lesnar shows up, whenever the hell Brock Lesnar wants to show up. Vince says there's a lot of worries Vince has to have. One of them is he might look in 2024 and Fox goes, yeah, we're not carrying WWE anymore. It's just not worth a 2.0 rating. No pay-per-views, no streaming. Screw this. We'll do something else.
Yeah.
Do you think Cody posed this question in the comments, which if all you guys are watching, please let us know in the comments what you think. Jump in on the conversation. If you're watching this, please like it, share it, comment. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to it on a podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave us a rating or a review, and I will make sure that I read them out here on the show. But with that being said, I mean, we heard Vince even quote it when he was talking about, what's going to happen next in WWE. He brought up, John Cena coming back. Do you think because of the lack of opponents for Roman Reigns, do you think that there's any chance that Cena takes the belt off of Roman?
No.
Even if it's only for a short run?
Nope.
No. I feel like they built up too much with this whole Roman train that they've got going on with his length and title defense and stuff at this point. It would I guess I'd really, because I am the MMA faceted, mind here, I didn't really think about how do I word this properly? How lack of depth there was in that upcoming star potential power. And to your guys' point, I mean, really, Roman's at the top for a reason. That's because he is clearly their number one at the moment. And I don't see anybody that it wouldn't make sense when he's clearly your number one for what you've got going on, for you to bring back an older generation guy that you're only going to maybe be basically leasing out for a year or maybe two at max.
If you get him for a year, he might be just back for a few
well,
months and be out.
That's what I'm saying. So I could 0% chance in my mind that you give up what you've built, all this time to do.
So
for something along those lines.
I'll pose a question to Chris and Kyle.
Donald says he thinks Cena will break the record and carry it until Cody gets back.
No chance. No. I'll explain that after you guys are done.
I'll pose a question to you guys. So, considering the rosters right now, let's look at the rosters top to bottom. Who's there? Who's not? Right now, who is the next big star there? Like who is it? Let's take away Roman. Let's take away Randy. Let's take away Edge. The top guys, just take them out. Right now, you have this company just kind of floating. We don't know who's going to be the next biggest. Somebody's got to step up, and it's got to happen very soon. Who do you guys put your money on?
So are you saying non-main event guy?
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you go first.
Braun Breaker. I mean, that's the guy you look at and
wrong.
just go, he fits Vince's mold. He understands the business. He looks the part, and they haven't screwed him up yet. And that's why I say yet. They could still screw him up. I mean, Vince screws up everything. We think, oh, we can't screw up. Yes, Vince screws it up. But to me, it's Braun Breaker.
I like that pick. If you remember back around the Royal Rumble, I said multiple times that I thought that they may bring him into the Royal Rumble and that he was tailor-made for WWE, and I still stand behind that. I don't think it's going to be long once he goes on the main roster that he'll be getting a world championship or have gold on his chest just like he does in NXT. I mean, the guy's good. For me to answer your question, I had a name in mind, but Donald kind of just definitely changed my mind, and I'm definitely going with that one. For me, they've already made him the Intercontinental Champion.
Right.
They already made him Intercontinental Champion. Gunther. I still think Walter is way better, and I'm gonna clown that. God damn it! I still don't understand it. But anyway, this dude has slimmed. He has slimmed down a shit ton and is way better shape. He's still rough, rugged, and snug, just like he was in NXT, chopping the shit out of people. Yeah. And let's face it, Vince likes big dudes. He might not be the most ripped guy in the world, but if you want to talk about believable that somebody can whoop your ass, Gunther checks all those boxes. Because I'm just saying, I, for one, will never be the guy like all these dumbasses that you see in these TikTok videos, like that want like wrestlers to chop them. If I wanted somebody to chop me, I'm going to tell you right now, that guy would be the last person on human earth that I would ever let chop me ever. But
when we were in Vegas, Gringo Loco made that comment because we were standing there by that bar.
That's why I said that.
Chopping, he goes, I still don't get it. I don't understand why fans want us to do this to them. I don't understand. Yeah,
I'm tough. I didn't cry when he chopped me.
They take their shirts off and everything. I'm like,
or no, how about the guy we talked about when we were at WrestleMania at Dolph Ziggler's show that was so wanting them to chop him because he had done it previously, and his quote bitch girlfriend deleted the video. So he goes up there, and then Ziggler and his brother chop the hell out of him because Bobby Roode says, "I'm not chopping you because if I hit you, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you." And this man did not have no business taking his shirt off. But that's another story for another time. Chris, the court is yours with this one, my friend. I mean, we've got a lot going down in the world of wrestling. The last thing I got to say before I get out of there is thank God Asuka finally won a match and they put her over and got her in the Money in the Bank because, dude, I mean, I understand we're talking about wrestling, but you want to talk about one of the most credible females that's in wrestling. Like, dude, just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, she has it better than Shayna Baszler. I mean, think of it. They have just
Don't even get me started on Shayna
crap on
Baszler. I
Baszler.
could scream at this screen for an hour about Shayna Baszler.
All I have to say is thank God for Slammiversary. If you love pro wrestling, you just want not sports entertainment, but pro wrestling, Slammiversary is worth everything and a bag of chips.
I agree completely with that. Like I said, I know Corey's was a little bit out on the wrestling stuff, so I figure we'll talk UFC next, but we're definitely going to have to talk about Slammiversary because I watched that from front to back, and put it this way, I missed the Ultimate X match because of when I was able to get to turn it on, and then I had to go back and watch it, and then by the time I looked up, I had watched through like the first 3 or 4 matches again. So like I literally watched that bitch from front to back and then almost watched it halfway through just because I had missed stuff right in the beginning. So I definitely agree with you 100%. If anybody else watched Slammiversary or was excited by Slammiversary or any of those good things, let us know what you thought in the comments. Like I said, Slammiversary is on deck for this show. I've got plenty to say with that. Corey, there was some MMA fights this weekend as well, and man, they were not getting paid by the hour in this bitch.
If I'm not mistaken, Dana White said this was his favorite fight night card ever. So
you might not be wrong, Donald.
That's high praise,
Dude, look, all I'm gonna say is like between UFC 275, which even though you had Valentina on it and Glover, I mean, was a fun card to watch. And then you got this UFC Austin, which literally from front to back was just wars on top of wars. I was thoroughly entertained. And, since we're talking about the prelims as well, shout out to our guy, Cody Stamen, bro, because hot damn for you to put the hands on Eddie Wineland like that. And then Eddie Wineland retires. Like, dog, Eddie Wineland is an OG of MMA, and I'm not saying that it was purely that one fight with Cody because obviously it's an accumulation over the years. But, dude, to be able to knock out a former WEC world champion, he's got more wins in featherweight history than almost anybody when you combine WEC. Like I said, good win for Cody for him to bounce back. Hopefully he can keep the momentum going, but damn. As soon as they hit go, it was like somebody shot the gun and said, everybody take off. Because, dude, Cody was throwing hammers from the beginning of that fight.
When you know how they do, I forget if it was Laura Sanko or
it was Megan O'Leary, I think.
But when they do the like pre-fight walkout thing and they have the mic and they're talking about, or they'll play the little montage across the screen and stuff. Cody had made the point in one of the little interviews. He's like, yeah, I'm going in there to throw hands. And I'm like, dude, that's your plan with freaking Eddie Wineland. Is you're just going to – now is the fight where you're like, fuck the wrestling. I'm going to come in here now and throw hands.
That's another story.
And he actually did it. And not only did he do it, he did it very fucking successfully and got him out of there, to your point, Kyle, I think within the first minute and a half.
Yeah, so, if that, dude. I mean, he was throwing them. Like he was getting at it.
As much of a fan as I am of Eddie Wineland, I've been following his career for a long time now. I'm glad to see the mustache man retire at this point in his career. He definitely doesn't look like he had that same dog in him that he used to have and display in pretty much every one of his fights. Like every time he was successful, it wasn't through no adversity, man. He always was in a fight even when he was winning. So
Cody's had adversity even through his way up to the UFC.
I'm talking Eddie at this point. But either way, shout out him on his retirement. But yeah, Cody needed this one. He had announced that in the octagon himself that, man, I needed that. And then to get the bonus on top of it, I feel like this was not that Eddie Wineland was an easy opponent at this stage in his career or anything, but I feel like this was a real put up or shut up fight for Cody. And for him to go out there and do what he did and then earn the bonus, I feel like that was the UFC saying, hey, we understand we've fed you nothing but the top tier of up and coming prospects at 135. Here's a fight, like I say, put up or shut up, see where you're really at, and then him to go out there and do that perfect confidence builder. And I think we do see a better version of Cody Stamann following this fight.
Chris, what did you think about that fight, dude? Where did you think Cody was at heading into this fight?
I'm happy for him. I mean, look, I remember speaking to him last year, and he had talked about just the whirlwind of just, ups, downs, going through everything, the Kelleher fight, Jimmy Rivera fight, Merab Dashvili, having to deal with, still dealing with his, passing of his brother, having to literally bury his brother, then take a fight literally, a month afterwards. It's for him, it's good seeing guys like that, get that break, because we see too much in MMA fans like, oh, this guy's lost 3 fights, he needs to be cut. Then you start looking, going, well, let's see, lost to Jimmy Rivera on basically a month notice. Then he took on Rob Deshevali, who's just, a bastard to fight. Then he takes on Said Nurmagomedov, who's also, just a monster. It's like a lot of these guys don't fight, like cupcakes. This isn't boxing where if you lose a fight, well, they're going to give you a softer touch. No, he's been through the ringer. So it's good seeing him get that knockout win. Good, especially now that he's in the middle of negotiations for a contract or, a new contract. So congrats to him.
J-Bone, what do you think about that one, bro?
Hey, that was good to see, man. I may or may, I know I say this all the time, but I may or may have not won a little bit of money on that one. Look, I'll be honest, I didn't bet on Cody to win. I just bet that the fight would end in under a minute. And it ended in 59 seconds. No shit. You can look that up. I shit you not. It did. But
Bets with J-Bone might have to be the next segment on this show. Hot damn.
Look, man, you don't want my bets, that's for sure.
What were the odds on that?
Dude, it was like plus like 650, something like that. I think it was.
All right.
Hey, what are you gonna do? It's a
Quick
little $5 bet, whatever. But one stat I did want to tell you guys. So even including, I know this is the second most knockouts on a card. Correct? Is that what I read?
Yeah.
I also read today that the first 3 fights, the first 3 fights on the prelim card only lasted an octagon time just over 11 minutes. That tells you how fast these fights were going and how much action were in these fights. That whole card, top to bottom, was incredible, dude. Like, that was a lot of fun to watch. And it was free. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, shout out in defeat, Kyle Dawkins in the beginning, man. He unfortunately got the ball rolling rather quickly with the knockout train, man. He got that nasty knee from Roman Dolidze, and that just really kind of
that was savage.
That kind of let that train start moving, man. And after that one, it to your point, man, it seemed like it was like everybody was trying to one up each other. They were watching each other in the back, like, oh damn, he landed that knee. Watch what I'm gonna about, And
dude, the fight between DC's protege and Phil Hawes, dude. Can we talk about the fact that anybody else peeped that he came out to the Rock's theme song?
Yeah. Did anybody else see the fact that Deron Wynn has since came out and did a voiceover breakdown of that fight? And for anybody who hasn't seen him basically break down his own fight and talk about getting elbowed in the face for the 90 millionth time, it was like the most, like, you could tell it was just the greatest sum up of like a fight from a loser fighter's perspective. Like, he was just like, he wasn't salty or anything. He was just like, the ending line he said was like, Herb, man, what the hell took you so long to get in there, man? Like, it was like some shit like that. It was great for anybody who
dude, he had a hell of a chin though.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a chin. Good Lord.
Hey, so you guys would know what's the latest and greatest on the Cowboy versus Lozon issue? I know the fight was canceled.
Dana says he won't book. Dana says he won't book it again, but I agree with what Joe Lozon said on our buddy Jimmy Smith. Shout out to Jimmy Smith. If you guys are new here, make sure you check out our chat with Jimmy in the archives. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But with that being said, dude, oh my God, dude. That whole thing. I got nothing.
Well, another huge prospect that really shined out, and I think the middle finger salute at the end just made it stand out that much more.
I was
A
gonna
little
say
bit of a
something about
cherry
him.
on the top. Adrian Yanez, man, way to move. After now it's Tuesday now, but after rankings Monday, he has officially moved his way into the top 15. But freaking Adrian Yanez put on a fucking performance out there, staying undefeated in the UFC. He's just 135 is full of fucking killers right now, man. It is like truly what 155 was 4 or 5 years ago when everybody was just insane over every title challenge and every step in the ladder at 155 a couple years back. I feel as though that's what 135 is turning into, at least in my eyes, man. It seems like endless prospects that are working their way either up into the top 15 or are just, like to your point earlier, Chris, when you were bringing up Merab's I feel like Merab, if Aljamain Sterling wasn't champ right now, I feel like Merab's truly one fight away, and he's just got the hardest fucking style in the world to deal with. So you just look up and down the top 15 and it's full of killers, and Adrian Yanez, man, way to join that list, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Bro, the Yanez fight was insane because, like, could you just see, like, I don't know how much, like, real beef there was, like, before that fight, but dog. I mean, I know they got at it in the weigh-in, but, dude, he came straight across just swinging.
Yeah. He had the home field advantage, too, you know what I mean? So he was fired up, dude.
Did you guys see the little thing that came out after the fact, that the little quote that Adrian Yanez said? He's like, he called me the Wish version of Masvidal. I bet he wishes he didn't do that now, or some shit like that. It was like,
that shit talking got you in trouble. I mean, Chris, what were your thoughts on UFC Austin, bro?
To me, the breakout star was Kevin Holland. I mean, he just looked reinvented at welterweight.
Yep.
I mean, and you look at Alex Oliveira, maybe a little bit, chinny here after all these fights, but Tim Means, and I've told this to people a lot, he is one of the best kept secrets at welterweight. He has been on a 3-fight win streak, and Kevin Holland just went in there and submitted him within 2 rounds. I mean, a lot of guys don't do that. I mean, that takes a special kind of fighter. And Holland, he was already a bit of a threat at middleweight. At welterweight, he just looks like within 2 or 3 fights, he will get a title shot. He knows how to market himself. He's dangerous as hell. He's a 6'3", 81-inch reach welterweight. That is just friggin' huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention the guy swears that he's Batman too.
Any interest?
He stopped another robbery. I mean, look at Kevin Holland. As he said, he is now stopped in this past year a shooting, rescued a driver from an overturned tractor trailer, and a thief. Maybe he is Batman. Who knows?
I mean, hey, I'm not mad at it. He knows how to fight. That's for damn sure that he knows how to fight, because even though he won that fight by Darce choke, dude, he put the hands on my man's dude. So
and he looked like he was genuinely just having fun. He didn't look like he was, overly trying to chase the finish or anything like that. He didn't necessarily look like he was toying with Tim Means, because I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, but he genuinely looked like he was 100% leading the dance throughout the whole fight and had the momentum on his side the whole time.
Can't argue that, dude. It was nasty.
Before we switch topics, where do you guys think he stacks up with Kamaru Usman? Kamaru Usman's
Kevin Holland?
Yeah. He needs
170. I mean, Usman is just a beast who takes you down and just grinds. But if he can keep the fight standing, I could see him giving Usman some trouble.
Yeah. It's so weird, right? Because to your point, making that move down to 170, he's truly revitalized his career and his aspirations at another top 5 push. Because at 185, he was super entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I think he worked his way into a spot for a reason, but I feel like a lot of those fights kind of fell in his favor with like the Jacare thing and stuff, where he got the knockout where he's laying on his back and stuff like that. I mean, just stuff you can't replicate and stuff, like some of that stuff he got there by circumstance, and then he got showcased once he made it to the top of the division that, hey, you got these holes that you really had to work on. Since then, I feel like he has displayed that he's at least improved. We'll see how much once he works his way back into another top 5 position. But I don't know. I feel like there's definitely some interesting matchups for him, but I'm worried too, because 170 is definitely full of wrestlers, man. That's in my opinion, the most stacked wrestler division. You got Bilal, you got Colby, and you got Usman all at the top of the division right now, and each one's a problem when it comes to wrestling.
Can't be mad at that, dude. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think Kevin Holland's definitely made some definite improvements. I think it's hard not to say that based off of his performance, but I still think he needs some more work before he can look at a Kamaru Usman, because at this point, Kamaru Usman can either knock you out on his feet or just wrestle you and just wear your ass out. Yeah. So, I mean, you've really got to be, I think it's going to take something special to take him off.
Just a different level, of beast, man. That's all it is,
I think we've seen a drastic improvement in his skills in roughly a year and a half, 2 years time now.
Just in his work with Trevor Whitman, his hands have gotten 1,000 times better.
Yeah, and then to see where Trailblazer Kevin Holland has improved his skills yet again, in the last 3 years himself, where he got showcase that he was lacking. I don't know if we're going to see that level of improvement to where he's going to be competitive in that field. It's just whether or not is he going to be effective like a Izzy, where he's able to basically implement his counter wrestling, so nobody's able to really get him down other than that Jan fight. That was the only.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, dude. But Chris, do you think Kevin Holland's got any real chance at taking out Kamaru?
He has a chance. I mean, look, we've seen wild stuff happen in the UFC. Would I favor it? No, but
no.
As I said, he is a 6'3", 81-inch reach welterweight. That's going to cause problems for a lot of guys. So.
I agree with that 100%. Well, you talk about highlight reels, you talk about knockouts, and you talk about all those things. Well, dude, Joaquin Buckley put on a fucking show as well, dude. Boy, that man's eye was muffed up. Eye was muffed up.
I love this story too. I don't know if you guys peeped that basically
they used to be training partners.
And that he picked the fight because he thought it would be an easy fight over Buckley because he was able to, win in the training room against him. And then the fight to play out the way it did, and then he'd be clearly losing, and Buckley's just running through him to the point where we had to get a doctor's stoppage between rounds and stuff. It was like that's a good look for Buckley. That's all I'm trying to say, man.
That's emotional damage, as they say right there.
Yeah. Oh, you thought that room meant shit. Wait till they close that cage door.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that one for Joaquin Buckley, Chris, and where do you see him going next?
I mean, it's a fun fight. He's one of those guys, who you look and go, all right, well, he can make noise. It's Joaquin Buckley. I don't mean to sound mean. Just this is a guy who wins a couple fights and he loses. Loses a big one. I mean, this is a guy who he was doing very well in Bellator. Takes on Logan Storley, gets out wrestled. Wins against Jordan Wright in Kazangi, loses to Alessio Di Chikaro. I mean, he's one of those ultimate guys that's like, okay, he's just a fun fight. He's a fun fight, but you put him up against top 15 guys
But do you think it could be this different this time with the change in training camps and stuff, though?
And he truly looked like he came in a completely different physical aspect. You know, like he came in, he was already huge, jacked and stuff his whole career, but he looked like he kind of leaned out just a little bit and lost some of that muscle mass and improved his cardio a ton towards the later. You know, he didn't look gassed at all when the end of the second came about.
I mean, he took on Albert Duraev. I mean, it's not like, he took on somebody who's great. I mean, there's a reason, as I said, let's see him do this against somebody who's pretty good, like Ogun Starley, Kevin Holland, Alessio Chirico. Those are very good fighters. That's been the barometer, is that when he takes him on, he just, whatever it is, he can't beat that level. So I'm glad he won, looked great. And now it's going to be like, okay, can you beat that next level? Can you beat a guy who, it's a 50-50 fight and you might not be able to just go in there and chin check him?
Well, I'm in this fight in particular, though, if I'm not mistaken, he was going in at like a 250 underdog. So he was definitely put in this fight, not necessarily expected to lose, because I'm sure the matchmakers never, expect somebody to lose. But he was put in a place where he was not the favorite going into the fight, and he was able to perform in this one. So I feel like Buckley's still got a high enough ceiling, and he's so young in his career. To your point, he has definitely not necessarily shown up in some of his, more showcase fights when he's really starting to get momentum behind him. But I for all these young fighters that still show that they're climbing up that ladder, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt. Anybody under 30, and I believe Buckley's like 29 or 28, I feel like he's still got enough time to improve those skills. And I feel like he's already taken that big step with not just trying to look like he's going to knock everybody out in there. I feel like that's a huge thing.
I mean, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes, dude. Like I said, I think, maybe the change in camps with Murcielago, which we already know, our buddy Kenny Cross and multiple others, Mondo, and all of them have gone over there. We're going to get to see some of those guys going to war this weekend, actually, at Lights Out in Grand Rapids at the Deltaplex. So we're going to have to see that go down. I'm really excited to see Past Kessler show Austin Bashy in the main event because, from what I hear, the UFC's got eyes on that fight. So, like I say, hopefully for our guy Austin Bashy, he can have another one of those highlight reel performances like it's been seeming like he's going to have as he's been going through. As you know, in his last fight, he went and picked up the Shamrock FC belt, taking out a really tough opponent over there too. So I'm looking forward to seeing that this weekend. But, before we get off of UFC, we talked about Joaquin Buckley. We talked about Holland and Tim Means. What was another good fight on this card to me? Holy hell, man. I think we got another guy that's going to be on his way up in the heavyweight division as far as at least another name to be throwing hands in there with what's his name? I just had it up there. Gregory Rodriguez and Julian Marquez, man. Was that not heavyweight? Why did I say heavyweight? I meant to say middleweight. Excuse me. My bad. I don't mind me. That's just but dude, he knocked the shit out of Julian Marquez. Julian Marquez was probably thinking he could shoot a shot from the octagon again. Yeah. Dude. But damn, that man was tough though. He took a lot of shots.
As a fan of both of these guys going into that fight, man, RoboCop really showed out, man. He showed that Gregory Rodriguez, I feel like, to Chris's point earlier where, some of these guys, maybe they win some, lose some. I feel like he's going to be one of these guys to watch out for. When momentum is in his favor, he's going to be the guy to watch out for. I feel like he may stumble once or twice along the way, but I feel like his skills and the fact that he does still have that jiu-jitsu to fall back on, but he's not relying on it by any means. He's going in there trying to take these guys' heads off every time. Yeah. And more often than not, he seems successful. So,
well, he's had knockouts now in 5 out of his last 6. What were your thoughts on Rodriguez and Marquez, Chris?
it's as I said, it's one of those fights where you. It's one guy who's been, I think, a cult favorite, and when Marquez. And I hate to use the word like cult favorite because it sounds just hard, but I've never been a big fan of Marquez. I think he's just too, at times, just wild.
Mm-hmm.
Rodriguez, he looks the part. This is a nice card because there was a lot of action, a lot of guys who you look and go, they might fly into the radar. We're not sure. Let's see what they do. I didn't, to me, it was like, okay, I picked him to win. He did so, Rodriguez. Now let's see how he does against somebody who, once again, it's a better, is somebody a little bit better, somebody who's higher up in the food chain.
Yeah. To your point, I think Julian Marquez, he's earned that status because of the whole Miley Cyrus thing, right? The Cuban Missile Crisis, but it definitely made himself stand out.
And of course, there's also the podcast with Kendra Loss.
That was the second point I was going to make as well. He does the podcast game as well, so he has his fans from there as well. But he finds a way in a lot of these fights when he looks like he's losing to pull out a victory. And I feel like a lot of people, once you get that dub on your record and 6 months have passed and your next fight's coming up, all they remember is the fact that you got the victory at the end, and they don't remember what necessarily led into that point. So to what you were saying, I definitely felt like that was the case leading into it. I felt like Gregory Rodriguez was going to be the more superior fighter in that. But Marquez looked like he had nothing for him, man. He really did.
Hey man, he was on him from jump in that fight. He was on him like white on rice. It was bro, it was that was an ass kicking. But you know what else was an ass kicking for both sides was that main event between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. So before we get into the fight, I'm going to ask each one of you guys, who do you think won the fight and why? Because we're getting a lot of people going both ways on this fight because we had such a close decision. And for anybody who's watching this, who did you guys have winning in the main event of UFC Austin? Did you have Calvin Kattar or did you have Josh Emmett? Let me know in the comments.
I personally felt as though Calvin Kattar did enough to win that fight. I thought he led the dance with the majority of it and then gained the momentum back in the last 2 rounds enough to swing the decision in his favor. But it was such a close fight that, yet again, for anybody who's out there saying, "Oh, did so and so get robbed?" or something like, no, it was an absolutely close fight, and based on where a judge was sitting and how he seen shots land could be a huge thing on how that fight was scored. It was so close, and then you look at the actual strike by strike numbers at the end of the fight once everything was actually totaled up. I mean, round by round was decided each way by like 3 or 4 strikes. So I wasn't mad. I was also kind of rooting for Kattar, so maybe it was a bit of bias coming out of it, but I wasn't mad either way. I felt Kattar won, but I wasn't mad with the decision.
Chris, what about you? What did you think on this?
I had Josh Emmett winning 48-47. I could easily see it 48-47 for Kattar. It's one of those things where it's like, okay. To me, it came down to like round 2 and round 5. Like, who did you score it from? There's, if you thought that Emmett was landing the harder shots, he was landing the cleaner shots. I can give you that. If you thought Kattar was doing more, he was pushing the pace. I could see that. It's 2 guys you could literally throw in there. And literally, they would give you the same kind of fight 9 times out of 10, and you'd be pressed to go, yeah, I'm really not sure who won. I just know it was violence galore.
Yeah, I think the main point out of this I think neither one was really a loser when you look later on in the rankings and stuff like that and who they end up matching up with for, in later fights. I don't think either one was a loser coming out of this.
I agree. I don't think you have either one of them is going to be a loser out of this. I think here's the real question though. Do you think with that win though, Josh Emmett did enough to earn himself the next title shot, or do you think if Volko wins against Holloway again, do you think he's really gone to 155?
It wouldn't. I want to hear your guys's how you guys scored it as well too. So don't feel scared to go back to that. But I would not be surprised if Volkanovski definitely does make that jump up. I would not be surprised because he has basically beat everybody who's presented themselves, whether them Holloway fights were close or not. And to be, even though 45 is making its first real steps in years, I feel like to have actual movement at the top of the division, all these, top 7 guys really have just been pretty much inactive, or they're fighting. It would be like 7 fighting 5, where they would still need, to your point, like, does Josh Emmett still need that one more fight? And it's like, well, you could make that argument. In his circumstance, I don't feel as though that's the case. He's on a pretty steady win streak. But I don't know. I could definitely see Volkanovski making that move. It'd be very interesting, him versus Charles Oliveira. I think it'd be a tough fight for him, but I don't know. Maybe he could overwork the height disadvantage and pull out the victory, but I would be genuinely surprised if he was able to get the win in that fight.
All right, J-Bone, how did you score that fight? Who'd you have winning?
Dude, that's just one of those fights, but I'm glad I wasn't scoring that fight, to be honest, because dude, it could have went either way, and I was cool. I mean, if it were for me, if I had to pick one, I think Kattar got it, just considering round 5 and all that. But I can't be mad at the decision, man. That's why you don't let it go there, right? It is what it is. We always go back to that, but that's one very, very entertaining fight, dude. Like Chris said, violence galore, dude. You can't ask for more of a main event type of fight other than that. It was great, but hey, it is what it is. You can't argue it. It's too close to argue, I guess. That's my final point on that.
Yeah.
So watching that fight, I want to watch it again to see if my mind changes at all. If that happens, we'll see. But that being said, upon first glance, I had Josh Emmett winning the fight. I think he controlled the earlier part of the fight, and I feel like every time Kattar was really starting to get a momentum going, Emmett did a good job of hitting him with a shot of some kind that stopped him in his tracks. Because I think that was really the story of this fight, to where Kattar was hitting him with more volume. Emmett's shots were stopping.
Jab City, baby.
Right,
he took him to Jab City.
And that's the thing. I mean, I had Emmett winning, watching it the first time, but I would not have been mad at Calvin Kattar because, I mean, dude, really, Calvin Kattar, came out and really was banging the last few rounds. So, again, I can't complain. Definitely a banger of a card for, what it was supposed to be. And on top of that, I mean, especially given what we're supposed to get on this card this weekend, I mean, I don't think this card's going to fuck with what we just saw in UFC Austin, but, who knows? Before we get off the UFC, does anybody have any thoughts on the latest in the Nate Diaz saga? This time he didn't piss on the UFC PI, but he might have pissed in their Cheerios.
Well, this time I think is rather interesting, the fact that Dana is finally addressing the situation, because it seems like he's always kind of gave the typical answer of like, well, we offer these guys fights and we can't help when they turn them down, and he's under contract and that. This time he straight up answered the question of like, hey, he wants to fight Jake Paul, and he feels as though your guys' last fight on your contract is being pushed back, so he's unable to, take this opportunity. And Dana straight up came out and said, I feel as though that's probably the best fight for him as well. So does that mean we're making steps towards just a release, and where he doesn't even end up fighting that last fight on his contract?
Oh, no, he's going to get that last fight out of his contract. No way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's just very interesting to see the way that this latest step is playing out, in my opinion, because Dana had always kind of just pushed it under the rug as, non-news, fake news, basically. and now he's at least addressing it. Yeah.
So, what do you think, Christy? Where do you think Nate ends up, and do you think
I
there's
don't
any
care.
chance that
I
with this
really don't
being
care.
said,
I don't
it's gonna
care.
end?
I don't care. I don't care. It's like this is like, as the world turns, we keep talking about, just disappear. Man, this is what basically it's Nate going, Dana, make the McGregor fight. Make the McGregor fight. I want McGregor. I want that payday, but I'm gonna just tell you to F off. I'll go home and we'll just save it. We did this something, years ago. I don't care. I mean, and I've never been the Diaz fans. I think they're overrated to an extent. They're good fighters, not great.
What was the term you used earlier? A cult favorite?
I mean, think of it. We're talking
They're
about
the
Nate Diaz.
they're the
It's like,
true
okay,
definition of one, in my opinion. Both brothers.
but you're kind of overrated. I mean, Nate Diaz has been what? In his last 4 fights, he's won 1 out of 3, including basically getting his ass whooped by Jorge Masvidal and then Leon Edwards ragdolling him. I mean, okay, I don't even see him doing well in Bellator now. I think he wants out. He wants to get this big payday, and then he wants out. My feeling is just get over with it. Let it die. It's like a deep fried Twinkie from MMA media member. Because MMA media members love the Diaz brothers. It's their deep fried Twinkie. Just let it die. You had enough. Let it die.
No more Twinkies for you, Nate. But J Bone, do you got any thoughts on this before we talk about some Slammiversary?
Look, I like Nate Diaz. I'm not a big Nick Diaz fan, but I like Nate Diaz. But it comes to a point, man, and same thing goes for like Conor McGregor. Like, put up or shut up, dude. Like, you're way more active on social media than you are in the octagon. So like, if you were active, I'd be behind what you say. You know what I mean? Like, but it's time to own up or shut up. It's at this point, it's irrelevant. You could say all you want on Twitter and ask for whatever you want, dude. But the bottom line is you got to get in the fucking octagon, and that's just it. And at this point, and like Chris said, I'm losing interest, to be honest. It's just whatever. More hype on social media. It is what it is. Nothing comes of it. So
if you were the man in that position, though, right? Like, granted, I agree with Chris's opinion on this, where he's lost, I believe it's like 5 of his last 6 or something like that. It's not a great stat if you look at Nate Diaz's current, log of his Tapology record as of currently. But that being said, he's worked his way into this position where he's a huge fan favorite. And they do keep feeding him essentially to these wolves like the Leon Edwards of the division, where it's these guys that they want to kind of be the next, celebrity star type people. Whether or not it's successful or not is one thing, but I think it's definitely time to move on. But at the same point, if you're Nate Diaz, the big rumor mill was that they offered him the Cosnot fight. And why are you going to do that to yourself, degrade your stock again, unless you truly think you can beat this guy who's just shown to be just this killer out there? And at this stage in his career, I don't think Nate Diaz has what it takes. Maybe he gets lucky and catches a sub or something like that, but doubtful. And I just feel as though this would be the perfect time for either one of the Legends fights, like make him versus Cerrone, make him versus him and Poirier were going back.
How about you just have him and McGregor fight again, dude? Why don't we just do that?
Yeah,
because McGregor's still injured and he's not talking about coming back till spring next year. And the whole thing with Diaz is he's been wanting to get out of this contract since spring of this year. So in that regard, yes, is that the biggest money fight? Probably, but Poirier is a big money fight in my opinion. I think that fight sells a ton.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't think he sees Poirier in the same light. I don't think anybody's going to see Poirier in the same light. But, there's a lot of fights when you're talking about any of them guys that has money in it. If you guys need to get your money right, make sure you talk to the homies at G3 Payroll, Tax, and Accounting. Like I said, tell them Knockouts 3 Count sent you. They got me together for my taxes this year. If you guys are a business and need to get your finances in order, Jack's the guy to do it. Tell him Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. But without any further ado, our last thing that we got to talk about was Impact Slammiversary, and that'll be brought to you by G3 Payroll again. Chris, I really enjoyed this show. I heard a lot of people saying that it was there weren't enough breaks in it, but man, I loved all the action. The Ultimate X was insane, and Mike Bailey, who, if you watched our episode where I talked about, that he was my standout of WrestleMania weekend, to see him go in there and win the Ultimate X like that, and to do that, the core strength that son of a bitch had to do, the back, like curl himself
keep up on that rope, dude.
And yeah, dude, do the whole, curl himself up and then roll through and flip out of that. Some of the stuff that guy does, hot damn. But what were your thoughts on Impact Wrestling Slammiversary?
For 20 years they've been around, and we and I know people, they always say, "Oh well, Dixie Carter, blah blah blah, Impact Wrestling, TNA sucks, blah blah blah." They've been around for 20 years. They've outlasted Ring of Honor. They've outlasted WCW. So you gotta give credit to that. And if you watch that card, it was a damn good wrestling card. I mean, people have, for those who complain women's wrestling, does not get enough, love. You had the tag team titles, which they actually did pretty well. You have the everybody's favorite odd couple of Taya Valkyrie, who all of a sudden now, she can't get on, WWE because they basically give her some stupid gimmick. And then Kattar was, she wrestles like 3 or 4 times, goes back to Impact, becomes a star. Her and Rosemary are now your tag team champions, and they are the ultimate odd couple. You have, I know you talked about the X Division match. I want to talk about Queen of the Mountain. You have,
dude, that was awesome.
It's 5 women, tables, ladders, chairs. You had basically
even though the tables
Deonna
made no sense,
and Chelsea Green going through a table. Not one of those, just fell off into a table. This was like off the top of a ladder, head first, breaking the table. You're sitting there going, oh crap, somebody died. You had the main event. You had Callahan nearly crippling Moose with a powerbomb onto a garbage can, which did not fold. And goddamn, we got to talk about this. Action Mike Jackson at 72 years old does the ring walk on the ringside barriers halfway around the ring at 72 years old.
I couldn't
do that when I was 22 years old, let alone 42 years old. He's doing this like, oh yeah, go walk around. Nah, screw the Undertaker. I'm doing it even older school here. Screw your ring ropes. I'm doing the guardrail. Halfway around the ring. A 72-year-old man.
You're not wrong, because I don't have that balance. I never have had balance like that, and to be able to do that all the way around, yeah, fuck that. I like I said, I thought it was entertaining as hell. Slammiversary to me was a very good show. You point out Queen of the Mountain. Queen of the Mountain is definitely something I wanted to highlight on this show, because obviously it was the first one for the women. But that being said, I mean, dude, they really just went all for it. I mean, and then like the story that was told in it too, with having Mickey on the outside, and then when Chelsea Green goes to get put in the penalty box, she kicks the door in Mickey's face, and then later on in the match, it ends up screwing her over. Like shit like that did real good for me. One thing that stuck out to me in that match was like, dude, Tasha Steelz was in the penalty box more than anybody else in that match, and she was the champ. Like, I don't know if that stuck out to you at all, Chris, but I'm like, damn, she just keeps getting put in the box.
And you know what? I actually like that, though, because as the Duke Loves Wrestling pointed out to me, they finally started treating her like, okay, she's the big threat. She's a champion. That's why I could go after her. And look, of all the women, she's the one who's really, I think, had to work to get over an Impact. I mean, you look, she wasn't the WWE star the international star. She didn't have, the hot boyfriend, the old, or she wasn't this big free agent. She was somebody who was Kiera Hogan's backup. And she's changed. I mean, people don't get it. When she first came out, she was sort of, the muscle behind Kiera Hogan. Now as I said, she's basically been one of probably the most it women in wrestling the last 6 months. And I'd put her up there with, Bianca Belair, Sasha, Banks, in terms of women who, just radiate cool. Like, okay, they understand cool. They understand, urban cool. They, they're not, like dorks. They actually know, like, okay, yes, we can be a badass. We can look good. And we actually know, can talk and walk the walk.
I can't argue that, dude. And I mean, with who won the match too. So it totally went over my head that because this was from a different match. This is from the 6-man, but just because we're talking about the women, we saw Tracy Brooks in the front row. I didn't know her and Kazarian were together all this time. That's why when she got involved in that match, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know what was going on with that for a minute. So it was good to see her in the front row too. But about the Queen of the Mountain match, all in all, like you said, great match. I'm a big Jordan Grace fan. I've said that for a long time. I think she's the perfect person to have the women's championship on because, I mean, let's face it, there's not very many women in wrestling that look like her, and she's still fine as hell while she does it. So, I mean, that being said, I mean, I don't think you – I mean, look, bro, I don't mean that as any kind of disrespect or nothing, but, I mean, she's – I mean, dude, she's.
I'd say the best thing about Impact. You couldn't go wrong. It's like, okay, if Deonna Purrazzo won, we wouldn't be upset because she's basically been TNA's female for the last 3+ years. If it was Mia Yim, we couldn't argue because a lot of people think she got hosed in WWE. If it was,
she did.
If Tasha Steelz, basically retained it, nobody'd be upset. Hell, if it was even, Chelsea Green. Nobody would be upset because Chelsea Green has shown that she can carry a division. That's I'd say the one division that TNA can go to WWE, Impact to AEW. Go.
I agree completely. I've said this for years. I think they have the best women's division in wrestling. I've said that for a long time. I think AEW's made a lot of strides to make theirs better, but I mean, as a whole, I think Impact has had the best women's division for years.
I do want to point something out. I don't think people understand how remarkable this was. The tributes we saw were just, and it was, you had all of a sudden there's Sting talking about his time in Impact. There's AJ Styles talking about his time in Impact. You had, Frank Kazarian, Nick Aldis returning. You had from MLW, Davey Richards. Hell, they even did a great tribute, I thought, to Mike Tenay and Don West, which had people.
Yeah, it was dope. Shout out to Don West. We've got a drop from Don West in our intro, man. Shout out to him in his fight with lymphoma. Like I said, check out that GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Yet America's Most Wanted, Shark Boy. This was basically to me like a tribute to what Impact has done, what they've gone through, and yet at the same time, and I know Duke loves wrestling. I disagree. It's a tribute to what Scott D'Amore has done. He has helped, massage egos, rebuilt, relationships. You had basically this whole card: AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, MLW, AAA, all on the same card. All of them participating in some way or the other, and that is the forbidden door. Through what AEW is doing,
I was going to say, it's funny you bring
everybody is working Impact. It seems
it's funny you say that, and it's funny you bring that up as we go into Forbidden Door. Hot, ring the bell. Yes, I'll be there in Chicago. If you guys are in Chicago, make sure you say what up, though. I will be out there with our good buddy Brasshole. But with that being said, it's funny you bring that up, and the reason I bring this point is because when you're talking about AEW and the Forbidden Door and all that stuff, it really speaks to the relationship that Impact has with multiple promotions when you consider that we're about to do this AEW Forbidden Door show, and the Lucha Brothers can't even be on the show because of the relationship differences with CMLL and AAA with New Japan. So because of that, we're not going to see the Lucha Brothers on that Forbidden Door pay-per-view, but yet we're getting to see, all the different promotions as you just named at Slammiversary. So that's definitely a big shout out and a kudos to Impact with that, dude. And I think Impact, furthermore, I mean, New Japan, if anything, should be thanking Impact, because I think the injection of Ace Austin into the Bullet Club and Chris Bay into the Bullet Club and CNJ Whitemore at Impact, I think it's done a lot of good for the Bullet Club, not just here in the States, but also in Japan. With that being said, another match that, obviously needs to be spoken about is the world title match between Josh Alexander and Eric Young. I was talking about this with my buddy Dan. Shout out to Dan whenever you check this out. Look, man, Eric Young has been underrated for years. I remember watching Eric Young when he was on Velocity back in the day. And then to see him in the early days of TNA when I used to watch him on Fox Sports Detroit. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think the first time I ever saw TNA, I was at Corey's house. And we had seen it on Fox Sports Detroit. And I'm like, when the hell did they ever put wrestling on Fox Sports Detroit? It tells you how long ago this was.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, it's Eric Young. I feel like, other than the stuff they did with Sanity, like so many you could name, was underutilized with WWE. And to see him come back to Impact and kind of pick up right where he left off, I thought that was a hell of a main event. And I loved all the throwbacks back to prior TNA guys, like wearing the singlet that was inspired by Kurt Angle. I liked all the different finisher things. Eric Young hitting slap nuts for Jeff Jarrett. Yeah. And, all these things. There was a lot of cool things in that. What were your thoughts on the main event, Chris?
It's funny. Eric Young will never get the credit he deserves. I mean, you look at what he's done, and it's, he was this sort of heel baby face when he first started off Canada. Am I going to get fired? Don't fire Eric. And then, he starts working with, guys like Relic and doing, the Super Eric, then the Main Event Mafia, the World Elite. And we start seeing him, become this lovable underdog when he gets his first world title. He then leaves, goes to WWE, does a great job with Sanity, goes to main roster, gets screwed. Then he comes back at Impact, and it's a whole different character than he's ever done. Yeah, we knew that it was going to be Josh Alexander winning this match. That wasn't ever in doubt. But Eric Young made this, to a point where you're looking, going, holy crap, could actually win this here. And look, he's not going to be the flashiest guy. He is not dive, but he mixes in, brawling. He mixes in, the occasional, top rope maneuvers. He knows how to play the heel. He knows how to tell the story. This story was perfect. It was this guy on his last chance going, okay, I'm going to take this fight to Josh Alexander. And look, this is why I love Impact Wrestling. It's better than AEW in that way. It's not spot fest. It's not sports entertainment. These were two guys who Vince will look and go, I don't get either one. You'll even have guys like Tony Khan look and go, I have no idea if these guys are even special. And yet they showed at Impact, this carried the card in a lot of ways. This was that nearly that 5-star match where you looked and went, okay, submissions, wrestling, top rope maneuvers, there was interference, there was, close calls here and there. It was everything you wanted, and kudos to Impact for doing this.
J-Bone, what were you thinking on the main event for Slammiversary?
I was just about to say, I'm glad you said that, man. That was a professional wrestling match. That wasn't sports entertainment. That wasn't a spot fest. That was everything you wanted in a main event on a big show, dude. And that was great. I'd have loved to see Eric Young win it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody thought he would have. But dude, like you guys said, the guy's so underrated, man, and he's been doing it for so long. You know what I mean? Like, I would have been happy. Give the man his flowers, on a 20th anniversary show like that, big time show. Why not? But hey, it is what it is. Other than that, man, that whole card, top to bottom, was incredible. The Briscoes and the Good Brothers, dude. I'd watch.
We got new tag team champions.
Over.
I can't say I got to say I didn't think they were dropping the belts.
I didn't either, but I would watch that match over and over and over, dude. The Honor No More match wasn't a good
shout
night
out to past guest PCO and Mike Bennett.
Wasn't a good night for our buddy PCO, but hey, it is
PCO's body, dude. Like, I just want to know what the hell it was. It could not have just been electricity that Destro
was
putting
man.
through them jumper cables.
He's just made of electricity. That's all it is.
Between the episode of Impact last week where it looked like he ripped his shoulder out, and now this week he's right back taking bumps off the apron and everything. PCO, man, you talk about between Ring of Honor and Impact, you talk about a career resurgence, son of a bitch.
But like Chris said, just touching back, and like Kyle said, just touching back on everything Impact wise. It's been 20 years, dude. You know what I mean? And you don't really think about that, but when it comes down to it, they had a lot of tributes. Even the small details, like the tribute AJ, Kurt Angle, Sting, and then you got the Hebners in the ring, with the
that was cool.
I had to admit, I was nearly in tears because
how cool is that for them to take the time? Like, we're talking officials, and these are legendary referees. They are doing wrestling, bro. Like, this is professional wrestling, and I think that was a tribute to professional wrestling, not sports entertainment, not the spot fest that everybody likes to see these days. That was a tribute to professional wrestling in a whole.
It's also just a treatment.
Great show.
Earl Hebner, saw his brother pass away a couple days ago. So while, other people are going, just it's referees, who cares? This is a guy who they made a part of a story. They gave him that 5 minutes, and his son, hugging and going, and you knew that they just buried, the uncle and brother. As every guy I've talked to, whether it's Rohit Raju, whether it's Chris Bay, Tasha Steeles, they say they just love the locker room because everybody gets along. Everybody just treats each other well. And you saw that, I think, on this card. It was a love affair from the wrestlers to the fans to themselves.
I couldn't agree more, dude. All in all, it was a great show. We saw a lot of flashbacks from Impact past, Impact present. We talked a little bit about AEW. We're gonna get into our thoughts about Forbidden Door and all those things Thursday, because again, ring the bell. I will be in Chicago for AEW Forbidden Door. But before we get out of here, Chris, I will let you, set the plate with this one. You seem to think that AEW might be, Warner Brothers might be trying to, get rid of AEW. Elaborate on your point, and we'll sound off on what our thoughts are with AEW and Warner Brothers.
All right. This isn't just my point. I want to make that clear. This is people I've talked to, whether it's Alfred Kanu over, I apologize for butchering his name, over at Forbes. This is Tony Maglio. This is Duke Loves Wrestling. This is people I know over at Warner Brothers. And it's sort of the fact that this merger has now forced a lot of people to look at some hard truths. Hard truth. AEW is not a sport. It's not really a traditional TV show, and it doesn't really bring a lot of money. So right now you are looking at Discovery, AEW, Warner Brothers, I believe David Zaleski, who's looking around going, I need to cut $3 billion. And right now the word of the street has been the AEW has not been on the sort of the front, burner. During their launch party, they basically had like one segment, which was a shot of Red Velvet. They're trying to get money. I mean, look, they've said their bread and butter is going to be for TBS, TNT, NBA basketball. Oh, by the way, that contract comes up in 2 years, or actually a year and a half. It's college basketball. It's possibly getting involved in college football. If you're AEW, you got to be worried. Look, it's the Friday night ratings have been terrible. You have not even gotten 1 million right now in the Wednesday show. and you're not, and Warner Brothers Discovery does not own you. They don't own the rights to it. They're looking around at other properties. They're trying to figure out how to get DC Films back and running. They're trying to get DC Cinematic Universe up and running. I can easily see AEW getting just let go because, as I said, they got cut. They got to cut $3 billion, and something has to go. And right now, pro wrestling is sort of at the very, very bottom of the barrel in a lot of minds.
But wouldn't this have been like the same problem that they had with WCW too? If you think about it, wasn't that the issue back then too? That they were at the bottom of the rung as far as Warner Brothers went. Wasn't that, the issue where we were at before? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'd like to hope that especially with like their deals with HBO Max that they talked about, him getting Ring of Honor, and that also, maybe creating a third show for them. I would like to hope that those would all be things that are enticing to Warner Brothers to want to keep AEW. Because again, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face: the more competition there is in wrestling, the better.
I agree with that. But you say that this is going to be, like big things for Warner Brothers. Like, okay, HBO Max, that's the home right now of every DC Entertainment University project, whether it's Batgirl, which is coming out soon, whether it's Teen Titans, or Titans, as they say. You've got another Batman series coming down the works. That's all going to be big money here. Yeah, they have Ring of Honor, but as I said, the Discovery WB people, they're not married to pro wrestling. To them, this is all right. We're spending right now $1 billion on our NBA ratings. And oh, by the way, that's going to go up the next negotiation. So they got to find money. They got to cut people. They got to cut programming. And they've already done that with original programming. There's no more original programming coming down the pike for TNT. I could easily see it happen. I think AEW would bounce back, probably, maybe on a Showtime, a Netflix. But if you're Tony Khan, you're AEW, people, you got to be worried. But hey, David Zalewski's looking around with chopping block, and AEW is like a prime candidate for him to go, yeah, we're going to save $20-30 million and just get rid of it.
I don't know, J-Bone. What do you think about this one?
It's interesting, man. Like, I'm wondering. I mean, I think even if that's the case, they'll get picked up. It won't be much time before they're picked up somewhere, strike a deal somewhere. I mean, it's very popular, but I'm wondering if this may open doors to certain like streaming services, like you said. I mean, because we have Hulu Live, you know what I mean? We have live apps. Maybe this will open the door for AEW to kind of get their video stuff on streaming service, like their libraries, like Ring of Honor, stuff like that, like kind of how the WWE network was. So now we can go back and watch AEW previous events on said app or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if it's because obviously they're gonna stay on TV. You want to stay with TV, that's where the money's at. Right. But maybe they're gonna start searching for new avenues such as streaming. You know what I mean? It kind of puts Tony Khan in a position like you got to figure it out, man. You want to stay ahead of the curve, but at the same time, you got to be on TV. That's where the money's at. You know what I mean?
Do you guys think that they're at the point now where they can do multiple broadcast deals similar to how WWE does, where they're across networks? You mentioned how they have Ring of Honor and how they kind of have their thing going where it's looking like that's HBO Max. Do you think they have the talent pool and stuff to keep that?
No.
It's not. When you talk about WB, as somebody said to me, WB is a brand name. It's like UFC.
Yeah, exactly.
I can name drop to anybody you can work with and go, oh yeah, I know that. That's why Bellator is in the position they are compared to UFC. UFC is a brand name. You can go any place you want in the world and say, hey, I'm a UFC fighter. People go, oh, I know that. Look, I think Tony Khan might have to sell off parts. I think there might have to be some guys who get left, cut from Impact, from AEW. It might not be a bad thing.
I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of people. We've said for a long time, I think that some of AEW's roster is going to get cut. I think to answer your question, Corey, I think that there would have been much more of a chance that you'd have seen that had. Okay, let's just say, I mean, granted, now we haven't heard anything. This is all just speculation and things as far as but if like let's say AEW was able to keep like just TBS or just TNT, and they had that like in their back pocket, and then you go to another network and be like, okay, well, we're live on X, so you're gonna get promotion for your channel on X channel. Now then I could have maybe saw it, but boy, if Warner Brothers just sells them in general, then that's going to be trouble, because then you also got to think they've branded their titles the TBS title and the TNT title. If they have to go to another network, that can't be that anymore. So then you're going to have to redo both of those titles, and the TNT was arguably your second biggest title at this point. So, I mean, you're going to have to redo anything. And then if that does happen, think about this. Jade still hasn't lost, and she's the TBS champion. Well, then what happens? You're the champion of what?
Yeah, of the former network you worked for. Yeah, that is kind of an interesting dynamic, I guess, to name your belt after a company.
That's why when I saw that, and now to think about that, man, you're going to have to, there's going to be a lot more than meets the eye that'll be changed with this. Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on what happens with AEW and Warner Brothers and all that good stuff, because we've got a lot more to talk about with AEW this Thursday at 9 p.m. We will be talking about AEW Forbidden Door before I get out of here, making some picks and all that good stuff. And, I didn't get to talk about it a whole lot. We're going to make some more picks on that card. Bare Knuckle FC going down this Friday. Make sure you check out past guests of the show, Britton Hart, as she gets back in the ring with Beck Rawlings, formerly of UFC and Bellator. We're going to see if Britain can change the result on this one. It's going to be a big fight. You got your main event in that one with Luis Baboon Palomino is going to be fighting in the main event on this one against Brito. Few good fights on there. I'm a fan of the bare knuckle fisticuffs. Britain was a fun interview. I was looking forward to it. Chris, dude, let them know where they can find you and all the good stuff that you're cranking out, because I'm not going to lie, I'm really jealous because you got to have Michelle Watterson on the show again. And he's got a lot of good stuff over there at his channel. So make sure you're checking out Last Call.
Well, I'm going to have to get you a bit jealous again, because this Wednesday on Last Call on Anchor FM, dropping tomorrow, we're going to have first Adam Kodunaki. He'll be joining the show talking about his road to recovery, getting back on the swing of things, and talk about his fight coming up on July 30th. And as you talk about bare knuckle boxing, well, we got one of our new stars who will be joining us days before his fight. That's right, El Terror, Jimmy Rivera. He'll be stopping by to talk about his fight against none other than Howard Davis, and he's going to explain about not only his contract, but could he possibly going into MMA as well as bare knuckle boxing? He's going to answer those questions a whole lot more. Plus, later on the YouTube channel this week, we got Jalon Bates showing up. He's going to be talking about his upcoming fight. We got to check this out once again. Anchor FM for Last Call with Chris Kattar, and check out my YouTube channel, Last Call podcast, also on YouTube. And gentlemen, it's always a pleasure being with you guys. And you guys, you bring the heat. I'll say that you bring the heat every time.
Greatly appreciate
I appreciate that, man. Like I said, I am definitely jealous at some of these guests that you're talking to. When you talk to some of these people, let them know, especially Jimmy Rivera with him fighting on that card. If any of these guys are feeling froggy, come bring them over here this way. But if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that comment button. Make sure you hit that share button. Let us know what you thought if you're listening to it on a podcast forum, which shout out to our boy Scoops, who was watching our chat with Matt Friendo, where we talked about all the stuff that went down with XFC, the controversy there, and the return of Lights Out that's coming this Saturday. Again, your main event, our homie, Austin Bashy, is going to be in the main event against a very tough opponent in Mr. San Jose. Like I say, I am very much looking forward to getting back around a cage, seeing somebody get their ass whipped. This Saturday, you're going to see it happen, but this Thursday, 9 p.m., make sure you tune in. I'm going to make picks for AEW Forbidden Door. And until next time, and in the in-between time, it's already last call for Chris Connor, but it's last call for your boys over here at Knockouts and 3 Counts. Peace.